How's it going, everybody? My name is Cam White, and welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope. What the fuck is going on in the universe for September 28th through October 4th of 2020? Thank you guys so much for being here. I love you guys so much. A lot of y'all did not like what I had to say last week, which was kind of funny. A lot of hurtful things were said, but I wanted to just readdress something I said. It's still fuck Trump. It's still fuck QAnon people for sure. But I am a little hard on you boomers. I'm going to take back some of the shit I said about you boomers. I'm a little hardcore on you guys. I'm going to try to be a little bit softer. I'm going to try to be a little bit nicer. But it's just, just difficult. And I appreciate you guys all still giving me the space to be able to say things that I'm passionate about on my platform. And that, I'm just also glad that you guys are here. So anyway, you boomers, take it easy a little bit. I'm going to also be a little bit easier on you. But anyway, I really don't even want to do this video. I'm actually recording this on Sunday. Usually I record these on Saturdays. I don't want to do this video. I really don't want to talk about this week. I really don't want to. In fact, last week I told you guys I was going to do the October horoscope, and I still haven't done that, which I'm actually probably going to do on Monday, tomorrow. And I haven't done it because, God, I don't want to fucking talk about this week. I don't want to talk about this month. I don't even know what to say about it still. Like, I don't want to say I don't know what to say about it. I have a lot of thoughts and I have a lot of opinions, but this sucks. This is, and it both sucks. I'm not trying to be a downer or anything like that, or a doomer. It's just more of this is really hard. It does not get easy to describe this type of situation. It does not get easy to even talk about this stuff. And while I don't think that this is going to be, the worst, what is cool about this week is a lot of things start to move forward in a lot of different ways. I just think that this is a hard conversation to have with this week. So I guess we'll just jump straight into it. We start Monday off with the moon ingressing into Pisces and immediately making a trine to Mercury now that Mercury's fresh into Scorpio. And so on Monday, this is Sunday. So as we go into Monday, as we have that moon ingress, make that trine to Mercury and Scorpio, one thing I really like to mention about, especially when you have something like Mercury and Scorpio, like catching on to that intuition. While water signs really get this rep of being super emotional, there's some truth to that. But something like time and time again, just water signs, it's intuitive, it's gut, it's instinctual, it's these feelings that arise that literally change the molecules in your body. And with Mercury going into Scorpio, where we're wanting to be just more mentally focused, mentally checked in, that moon going into Pisces might kind of have us open up a little bit more into how we feel. It also might help us a little bit more just with the moon going into Pisces, where it's now opening up to emotional expression. The moon is, how we feel. The moon is what we're kind of, reflecting on. And as it's in Pisces, it's kind of overstimulated by its environment. But the moon in Pisces is also just a good time to just be with your feelings, to just be with yourself. And as that trines Mercury in Scorpio, this is now Mercury in Scorpio starting to make sense of something. There's a good side to this where this can help become more clear and just more targeted on, or just focused on your target. But there's this other part of the moon in Pisces that's trining Mercury where it's going to get really easy to make up a story about something. And that's something that we all do, where we see an event happen and then we make up a story about it. And we say this story, my perception is the truth. And, this is just one of those times where it's going to be, you want to be aware of if you are making up a story about something or if what you're seeing is actually the honest truth. And as well on Monday, we are going to be having Venus trine Mars, which is really interesting because the next 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, all of the days are hard this week, to be honest with you guys. This week fucking sucks. But the transition of Monday to Tuesday is really interesting. It's a really interesting beat. I feel like a BPM switch, but Venus applies to Mars, right? At the same time, Mars, the next day here on Tuesday, is going to be squaring Saturn as Saturn stations direct, but we're not there yet. As Venus makes this application to Mars, as it's trining Mars, this is where Venus is going hey, I feel pride. I feel heart. I feel energized. Like Venus and Leo's like, this is what my heart wants. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I need, right? As it's trining Mars retrograde in Aries, this is kind of like, okay, where Venus and Mars trining is usually like, things getting along, things going good. Venus and Leo making that trine to Mars retrograde is kind of like, hey, I feel really good about this situation. What does that make me want to change? What is that allowing me room to change? This is a trine. This is a harmonious relationship. And yes, this Mars retrograde sucks, but I think as Venus trines Mars, there's this, like confidence in our decisions. There's this like, you know what? This is how I feel. This is what I want. This is what I desire. Something that I don't talk too much about with Mars, and that idea of desire and what we're really wanting to go after. And with Venus and Leo, it's kind of like there's this recognition of like, these are my desires. This is what I want. What am I doing to get it? What am I doing to go after it? But it gets a little bit tricky. Whoops, wrong button there. I keep pushing the wrong button all the time. But it gets a little tricky because as we go into Tuesday, immediately the next day, Mars makes that square to Saturn. Saturn stations direct as the moon conjoins Neptune. So watch this. So Mars, right, squaring Saturn literally as Saturn like stations direct. Saturn stations direct before the exact Mars square, and I think that's a really big point. That is kind of like Mars is like going up to Saturn, and Saturn has like its back turned against Mars, right? And then like as Mars is coming up, it's like Saturn turns around and it's like right there. Like Saturn's almost expecting Mars to come and try to like knock it down. It's kind of like the difference where, have you ever moved a mattress with someone? Let's say if you've moved a mattress with someone, this is probably the best analogy I could ever come up with this. And Saturn is the person that walks forward, and the Mars retrograde is the person who's walking backwards with the mattress. Saturn stationing direct as Mars squares it is like when the person who's like walking forward stops, or I should say the person who's walking backward. The person who's walking forward stops or pushes the mattress a little bit forward. Like if you've ever been walking backwards with the mattress, like, I mean, whatever that other person does, if they stop or if they push it a little bit more, like it super affects you. And so for one, Saturn stationing direct. Saturn's been retrograde since, I mean, when I say May of 2020 literally sounds like lifetimes ago. Like this has literally been the longest fucking summer, the weirdest fucking summer. Saturn was in Aquarius. Like what? Like that just sounds weird to me still. Because Saturn's just been in Capricorn forever. But Saturn stationed retrograde in Aquarius. Then it went backward all the way through Capricorn. It went over it's just been in like the most gnarly spot of the sky, right? Now that Saturn's stationing direct, we know what responsibilities we have to take on. We know what discipline that we have to kind of face. We know what commitments we have to make. Saturn stationing direct, we know, and we're now starting to, I guess, lay down the foundation of like, Saturn first going through direct is like, all right, this is where our limitations are. This is where the barriers are at. This is what you kind of have to do to handle it. Saturn retrograde is like, okay, now that you've been presented with all of those obstacles, what type of internal changes do you need to make, right? Now that Saturn's going direct again, and it's going to be going over this part where it was already retrograde, this is now where we handle all of that. Like, what commitments do we need to make? Where do we need to take responsibility? Where do we basically need to get our shit together? But as Mars squares it, this is kind of like before Mars squares Saturn retrograde, this is like right before shit gets completely out of hand. There's some type of forward movement with something. It's disaster averted almost, except not. It's Mars squaring Saturn there's definitely like you're hitting a wall. You're not moving forward. You're not going fast, and you're putting a lot of energy into it. The good news is though, with Saturn being in the superior position moving forward, this is where you kind of lay down the law. This is kind of like where, I'm trying to, I don't want to say I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I have an analogy in my head, but I don't know if it's going to translate correctly. I guess a good way to look at it is kind of like this is Saturn going direct as Mars squares it. It's like when you see like, have you ever been in public and you just see like a dad like snap at like their kids? Like where it's like, they're just blah, 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 going out of control. Then the dad or the mom is just like, no, like, immediate discipline, kids on fucking lockdown, fucking like we're putting that shit to end. That's kind of like Saturn stationing direct on top of Mars. Like Mars in retrograde is getting real out of hand here. Someone's got to step up to the plate and be the adult. And no one really likes being that person, but Saturn is really good at doing it. And so I think as we have Saturn stationing direct, Mars retrograde, just right before shit gets really out of hand, the law is going to get laid down. There is going to be this sense of, like you kind of fucked up maybe. Like, it's kind of like when you're a kid and you see your parent get really mad. You're like, oh, shit. Like, shit's really bad now. It's going to feel weird, and it's going to feel very confrontational. And the reason why I say this is all going to be weird too is because the moon's going to be conjoining Neptune the whole time. So it's like we're having all this insane confrontation, this insane forward movement, but the moon's in Pisces. So it's like, am I really feeling this right now? Is this exactly how I feel? There's two sides to it, right? Where one part of us is being kind of really avoidant, kind of getting lost in a lot of stuff, and the other part of us is being more emotionally present and clear with the moon conjoining Neptune. So as everything kind of goes down on Tuesday, I think Tuesday is just one of those days where something's going to happen, but it may not necessarily, I don't want to say hit you, or you may not understand how it really affected you until maybe a couple days or even weeks later. That's something I've also really realized this year. Like the shit that's been happening, it's like in the moment, I'm like, especially, with astrology, we have this wonderful tool where we can literally track events in real time. You watch it happen in real time, you go, okay, that was that. But then you go to the future, and I've been looking back, like more of like what's been going on for me in 2020. I'm like, wow, like, holy fuck, that happened. Holy fuck, that happened. Like, there's a little bit of a delay, with this year, I feel like. But especially on Tuesday, as the moon conjoins Neptune during the Saturn station and Mars square to it, there's going to be some confusion. There's going to be more of kind of like, it's just like watching a movie. Something that you think is important that happened, you're not really sure if it's important until later on down the road. So Tuesday's just going to be weird. Tuesday is going to be a rough day. This would be a good day to... This is kind of like if you're getting pulled over by a cop, it is going to dramatically make your situation better if you pull over. If you just step on the gas and run away, you went to 5 stars on GTA now. Now everyone's fucking after you. Now everything, like, that's the thing about this Mars, about the Mars station to Saturn, and the Saturn station to Mars square to it, is like, if you just pull over and try to mitigate the damage, try to just, it's right before shit gets out of hand, just get the law laid down, get shit handled. We move forward to Wednesday. Moon moves into Aries. And it's not going to move into Aries till later that night. And so, for the most part on Wednesday, the moon's just going to be in Pisces. And this is really important because as the moon's going through Pisces, yeah, it's going to be sextiling the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto stuff. For the most part, it's not really going to be doing too much else. I think the moon in Pisces on Wednesday is going to make us kind of feel aloof and very much like, how do I feel about this? Is this what I want? It's kind of like the nerves before you make a big decision, or the nerves and the questioning that you do before you go on a new journey. And I'm saying those words very specifically because as the moon enters Aries Wednesday night, a lot of things move forward. Like, that's what's really weird about this week is with Saturn stationing direct and Mars retrograde, it's like, like things stop and then dramatically, kind of go fast again. And on Wednesday, as the moon's in Pisces, it's like that. If you guys are, I shouldn't say if you guys are into drag racing, there's probably 5% of you that know anything about drag racing that watch my show, but you guys all know the Christmas tree, the lights that they do on when cars race, and it's like red, then it's like yellow, more yellow than green. That the moon in Pisces is very much like that yellow moment of like, the light's about to turn green, but get ready because it's happening. Like, but it's not right now, but it's about to. Like, that's kind of like how Wednesday feels. And then the moon goes into Aries later on that night. Then we go into October. Beginning of the month, and we have this full moon in Aries, and it's conjoining Chiron, which is something I don't talk about too much anymore on my channel. But I did want to bring it up only because I feel like this is a sensitive point. But anyway, we go into October 1st, and bam, we have that full moon in Aries. Look at this. Look at that, man. Mars squaring Saturn here still. Mars getting ready to square Pluto. The full moon in Aries, the first mention I want to make of it is this is now the sun in Libra being like, okay, I'm not really sure what I need to be doing. My energy's being drained. Seasons are changing. What do I need to start? These are cardinal signs. What needs to begin? Like, that is the most important thing about cardinal signs. It is about initiating. It is about beginning. So now that we are in fall, what are we starting? What's new? What do we need to be starting? And as this full moon in Aries happens, this is like, oh, I need to make a decision. I need to do this. I need to do that. This is very much like kind of channeling that energy of like, all right, this is where I need to go. This is what I need to do. And I mean, full moon in Aries happens every fucking year. But I feel like this one's so much more important with this Mars retrograde squaring Saturn. For a long time now, we've been in this situation of like, is this what I want to do? Is this not what I want to do? Is this, do I want to do it this way? Do I want to do it that way? Mars squaring Saturn is a lot of, going nowhere fast. There's a lot of, bickering back and forth of which is the best way or between two sides of it. And with this full moon in Aries, this is kind of like, decisions being made quickly, being clear about what actions you are going to take. This isn't about knowing the right decision or making necessarily the correct decision, but this is about acting decisively. This is about initiating. This is about starting. Now that Mars is squaring Saturn, Mars squaring Pluto too at this point, there's a lot that we know. It's kind of like accepting when your car is broke down or accepting that you're stuck. It's like, okay, there's a point where you go, can I, fix my car and get out of the situation? If your car is stuck in something, it's like, can you get out? Then you finally hit that point where, your car is fucked up, or that you're stuck in the situation. You decide, or you acknowledge it, you settle with that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you accept that you are stuck, or you accept that, you're not going anywhere. And then you can start making other decisions, right? That's how this is going to be. We kind of accept where we are with things, and then are like, all right, this is the decision I've got to go. This is the decision I've got to make. And I wanted to bring up the conjunction to Chiron with this, because this conjunction with Chiron is going to feel sensitive. Like, the thing that I like about Chiron is that, like, it's deeper than on the surface, right? Like, this isn't just Aries where we're like, oh yeah, make a decision, go for it, just like do it. Like, doing these things, same thing with Aries, defending ourselves, being clear on our intentions, feeling decisive, also just like, I'm trying to remember what I talked about in my Healed Warrior video. But something I really wanted to bring up with this full moon on top of Chiron is very much like, it's not necessarily what we want to do, but like, what do we need to do that's actually going to do some healing for us? Like, this is literally the spotlight is on Chiron. Like, there's some actions that need to be made that are actually going to be kind of healing. And we're kind of afraid to do it because it's going to make us feel dumb, or it's going to make us hurt in some way. Especially like with Chiron, like I talk a lot about like the alcohol and that open wound, like it's gonna hurt, but that's the thing that's going to make it better. And if you just leave an open wound open and you don't dress it or clean it in any way, it's only going to get more infected and hurt more. And this is just, I don't know if you guys have ever broken a bone or had to go to the hospital, or like, I've broken a fuck ton of bones in my life, and the worst part about it is the pain only begins because it's like, all right, you broke a bone. Like, I remember when I broke my arm, and the whole time I was thinking, I was like, fuck. Like, the next 24 hours are going to suck, because you go to the hospital, and it's not like they just go, oh, yeah, here's some pills, and we'll put a caster on it, no problem. Like, or I remember when I broke my leg, I had a full, like, splint, and it was like a 50-pound splint, and carrying that around on your leg while it's broken hurts so bad. And so it's like, there's a process to healing, right? And sometimes you have to fix some stuff, and sometimes it's not comfortable. Like, especially like something that I've been learning a lot in my own journey with life is just being more clear about, like, not being passive. Something I really struggle with. I have a Libra moon, and with this full moon in Aries on top of Chiron, I'm really excited to, even though I'm very nervous about being decisive or being very clear with where I stand on stuff. I'm nervous about it, but I'm also very excited about it. And I think that just speaks to Chiron being very, kind of dual-sided of, it's not going to be comfortable. It's not meant for you to be comfortable, but that uncomfortability is what is going to be healing. That is what is going to be, the most beneficial and rewarding to you. And so on this full moon, like, what do you need to do? Like, not just like, what do you need to do? Like, what do you got to get accomplished? Like, more of like, not in the, I guess, the industrial mindset way of what do you need to do, but like, what actions and decisions do you need to make to have a ease of mind, to love yourself more, or to give yourself more confidence? What are those decisions that you need to make? And so I think on Thursday, on October 1st, there's a lot to think about. Think of the Billy Ray Cyrus tweet. There's much to think about. There's much to consider. But the one thing is, like, with the moon in Aries, like, just fucking do it. Like, just do it. Like, it's something I've learned a lot in my life, was every time I was too scared to do something and I failed, I always regretted it more than when I did do something and looked stupid. Because at least I fucking did it. And that's just one thing I think to keep in mind during this full moon. So anyway, we get into Friday. Friday doesn't look too much easier at all. Friday, we have the moon conjoining Mars as it applies to a square to Saturn and Pluto. But the good news is we have Venus moving into Virgo. So this is where it gets a little bit more difficult. The full moon in Aries is going to be more of like, hey, I'm now aware of what decisions and what I need to do, and what there's awareness, right? That's the full moon. It is literally illuminating something. Like, that is all it's doing. It's just bringing light and bringing attention to something. Not too much more than that. But as the moon conjoins Mars and it squares Pluto and it squares Saturn, there's this, things are a lot easier said than done, and things are a lot easier in your head than they are taking action on it. And with the moon applying to Mars, if it's a quick action, if you just need to separate, if you just need to cut, like, easy, right? But if you have to it's also the moon in Aries squaring Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto. There's a lot of immense pressure to feel like you have to make a decision. There's a lot of, Jupiter and Saturn, Pluto, all of these giant life changes that we have overtaken in the past 2.5 years. Like, all of that is kind of riding on you making these decisions. Like, are you going to keep things old and the way that they were with the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn? Or are you going to kind of like make some new changes and do something that you've never done before, that you've always been scared to do, but actually kind of do it? I'm not saying, and I don't think in this situation there's a right way or a wrong way. I do think that with the moon conjoining Mars, it's going to be really easy to just cut shit off, to just fucking, like a Band-Aid, right? But I think it's also going to be really easy to go back on a decision. And it's going to be really easy to be, like, oh yeah, no, it is too hard for you. You could never do that. It's going to be easy to get in that mindset. And so I think on Friday too, with Venus at the very end degree of Leo, right before she moves into Virgo, is have some courage. And, honestly, it's 2020, man. Fuck it. Just fucking do it, in my opinion. The other thing is Venus does go into Virgo later on that day. Really exciting stuff. Venus is going into her fall. So one of the things I like about Venus in Virgo is Venus in Virgo has a taste that can never be filled. It's like having, you have a certain a tone that you want to create, right? Or a certain song that you hear in your head, but you can't find exactly a song that matches that. Or one of my favorite actually analogies with Venus and Virgo, it's like having an outfit in mind, and it's only something that you can go to like a Goodwill and recreate, but like you can't get the exact recreation that you want. Venus and Virgo, it's easy to be over picky. However, I think that can be good. I think it's kind of good to be, critical about how certain things look or appear. I think with Venus being on top of Regulus, though, there is this transit of having high accolades, being well-renowned, having some type of, with Venus on top of Virgo, do things exactly like artists when they make their music. For example, I want to dance with somebody. She didn't just go in there with all of this heart and passion and just sing it and bam, the fucking song's done. You get a hit record. Like, no. Motherfuckers spent hours listening to that stupid fucking song over and over and over and over and over again and doing these little tiny adjustments and tweaks. And again, I'll go back to what I said like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Just fiddling with shit. Venus going into Virgo on top of Regulus is like, you just fiddle with it just a little bit and you, it all clicks. It all is like, finally, like it's the exact tone you're looking for. So instead of, if you got a bunch of knobs that you're trying to turn in life, don't just turn a bunch of knobs and think that that's going to solve all your problems. Sometimes it's just a little tiny change can make the biggest difference in the world. It's the same thing if, I've made these analogies before. If you're flying from LAX to New York, if your flight path is a whole degree off, like you're going to be landing in Newark or you're going to be landing somewhere else. You're not going to get to your destination. Those 1 degree differences, those 1 degree changes really make the world. And so I think with Venus going into Virgo, I think there is the sense of, and this is also the moon on top of Mars. This might just be a small action or a small behavior change that really makes the difference. And so I think on Friday, just find out where you need to make those smaller differences, especially this personal development shit. You see this all the time online. It's like you have to dramatically change your life overnight, and it's got to be all of these big things. And while there is a space for that, the smaller things are just equally as important as those bigger things. So, if maybe the bigger things in life are intimidating, or maybe you're not in a place to take on those big life changes, like do the small things while you can, while they're in front of you. Take care of it. Eat your vegetables first before your dessert. Do your homework, then you can go play. I know that's kind of lame, and I would never think I'd give that advice as someone who is like me, when I'm very much like, fuck everything, go have fun. Sometimes it's just better. Anyway, we get into Saturday. Saturday looks kind of interesting, but what's weird about Saturday is we're going to be like on this high of this week that Saturday's events we're going to like not even be like checked into, but eventually Saturday's events will come up importantly. The moon is going to ingress into Taurus and immediately make that trine to Venus. At the same time, the moon is also going to be opposite Mercury and going to be conjoining Uranus. So the moon's kind of doing a whole fucking, dance here. Moon going into Taurus, great. It's an exalted sign. The moon's comfortable here. The moon's excited to be here. The moon's trining Venus. The moon's like, what the fuck is up, girl? Like, let's fucking hang out. Let's relax. Let's fucking, it's the same idea. It's like, my musician people will understand this. It's the same idea. It's like, when you get that perfect tone, when you dial in everything just right, it's like, then everything just becomes easy after that. It's like, oh, now the sound that I want comes out. Now I can actually write the chords that I want or do whatever it is that you're looking for. It's like, once you get that specific thing down, bam, it all lines up. However, the moon trining Venus, that's really going to be good for just feeling comfortable, feeling excited about that stuff, whatever those small tweaks are. But what I did see is as the moon goes opposite Mercury, I think this is going to be building up a little bit because the next time the moon's in Taurus is the full moon in Scorpio. I mean, the full moon in Taurus, which is like later on this month, and it's kind of fucking gnarly, which we'll be talking about in the live monthly that I do, which again, I'm sorry I haven't done the live monthly yet. But anyways, the moon goes opposite Mercury. Mercury in Scorpio is going to be like, this is nice, but this is too nice. It's too quiet. Something's fishy about this. And so there's going to be this level of like, it's kind of like when you meet new people and you're like, oh, ha ha ha, like you're nice, blah, blah, blah. But then on the inside, you're like, who is this fucking person? Like, what the fuck are they about? There's going to be a little bit of that to it. And as the moon first makes the opposition to Mercury and then conjoins Uranus, that's where it gets a little bit like, maybe something happens or something occurs when we get to Saturday evening where it kind of triggers some underlying suspicions or some underlying fear. And as the moon conjoins Uranus, there's this erratic, this erraticness, this instability with how comfortable we feel. And so on Saturday's going to be a mix of emotions. It's probably going to start off good and then it's going to end on a curious no. But I don't think it's really anything that's going to come up immediately. I think it's going to be something that more comes up as Mercury retrograde. So it's kind of like just pay attention. Don't look into it too deeply, but you'll get it as time goes on. Well, anyway, we go into Sunday. And Sunday's when we have that moon trine Jupiter, and then we have the last planet of this fucking Capricorn pileup, station direct. and that's Pluto. As we get into Sunday, and the moon makes this application to Jupiter through the trine, it's separating from Uranus during this time too. So as it starts to make that trine to Jupiter, there is this sense of like, okay, how grounded in reality is this? How realistic is this? How pragmatic is this? How easy and simple is this? The moon trining Jupiter is just a time to just be more of like, okay, like what do I have? What am I grateful for? And this is Jupiter in Capricorn. How can we realistically get grounded? How can we also, this is the moon leaving Uranus too. How can we realistically do something innovative? You know what I mean? Sometimes the biggest innovations aren't really all that crazy. Like they're really just kind of fucking simple, but it's just kind of like, it takes a long time to get to it. And so I think on Sunday, there is this place to be in that looks like, being comfortable with all of the things that are moving forward. Look, I mean, all of these planets are now moving forward. This is going to be, all of this Capricorn stuff moving forward, I think is going to make things dramatically easier. And that's not because things are going to be better, but it's the same idea with building muscle. After a while, it just gets a little bit easier because you've been doing it for so fucking long. Well, we're 2.5, almost 3 years dick deep into this fucking Capricorn stuff. We have some time. This ain't shit to us now. We've got this. And as Pluto stations direct too, there's not a whole lot to speak on it. But what I will say is now that Pluto's caught up with everybody and is on the same page, now everything's moving as a unit. Jupiter's about to ingress. Saturn's about to ingress. Pluto still has some time, but let's get Jupiter and Saturn out of Capricorn, right? So, with Sunday, it just looks like a time to just be, kind of like get comfortable for a minute, right? Like take inventory. What have you done? What have you built? What do you have? Where do you feel comfortable? And also too, with everything kind of moving forward, ask yourself, what do you have to take on in order to reach those results that you want? Like what I talked about earlier, because there's a lot going on this week. You know what I mean? With that full moon in Aries, about what decisions that we have to make. With Saturn stationing direct, what responsibilities do we need to take on? I think with that moon in Taurus wrapping up Sunday, maybe feeling comfortable and also feeling better about the decisions that we made. Feeling like we are responsible, feeling like we are handling our shit. Because at the end of the day, like this Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto stuff, like, and I've said this in the past couple of weeks, is it's just a part of growing up. Like, and I say that both to my younger crowd and to my older crowd. Like, everything that we're going through right now is just a part of this weird fucking thing that we call life. And that I think in this scenario, with how dramatic everything is, I think it makes those lessons even more rich and more valuable. And I think there's something really deep and profound to get out of these experiences, because it's like, what I've talked about the past 2 weeks of like, toughen up. This is what's going to show you what the shit's about. And it's not, you're not going to get out of this and be like, wow, I'm tough, I got through that. It's going to be when you get challenged in the future, when you are presented with something difficult, you're going to be able to reflect back on what you did during this time. And it's going to be easier for you to get through challenges after this. Like what I've been trying to tell people, like, yes, the next 20, 30 years of astrology, it has its ups and downs, that's life. But this is probably like textbook definition as hard as it gets for a while. And so, don't get me wrong, like there's that, like 2024 definitely looks crazy, but it doesn't look hard like this. Like this is just straight up hard. So I just think that just take this very seriously. Take this fucking real. Like this is your life. This is life. You know what I mean? And especially in this day and age where we're so sucked into our phones and we're so sucked into shit that doesn't even fucking matter. I also think this would be a good time to really just take a step back and really reflect on what is real in your life and what is worth paying attention to and what is worth taking action on. And so that's basically what I've got for you guys. Next week, actually, Next week's a little interesting. We have Mercury going opposite Uranus right as it's getting ready to station retrograde. So the Mercury-Uranus thing, expect the unexpected. Mars is going to square Pluto. We've already been through that once. Like we'll be fine. Next week we also have Venus trining Uranus, which actually, in my opinion, I'm actually kind of excited for. This sounds like at least something to look forward to. Sun squares Jupiter next week, and Jupiter makes the sextile to Neptune again for the third and final time as it squares the Sun. So I think next week there's a lot more outer planet stuff happening. So I think next week is going to feel dramatically different than this week, but because this week's a lot more in your face. But next week looks okay. This week's definitely more important, though. This week's definitely like a lot of things change from here. A lot of things kind of get set in stone, which is good. I don't know if you guys are on the same page as me, but I haven't been able to set anything in stone because I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on. I'm kind of just like waiting for shit to happen, which I feel like this is going to be the week that everything gonna at least we'll be able to project what the next little while looks like, and then once we get to January, February, then we'll know what the next year will look like. But with that being said, thank you guys again for being here. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. And trying to think of what else I wanted to say. I think that was it. But yeah, tomorrow I will actually do the monthly live horoscope. I just don't want to actually talk about October. I just want October to end. Wake me up when October ends. So yeah, make sure you tune into that. And thank you guys again. I'll be seeing you next week.